If you're thinking about a career in real estate, or maybe just getting started, this is the episode for you. We hear from Colton Heffley, who tells us how he got started in real estate while he was a professional hockey player and found fast success. Colton closed 20 transactions for over $8 million in his first year. He was a finalist for RAS Media's Rookie of the Year program. Colton explained some simple but necessary tricks that are helpful to anyone that you don't want to miss.
Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the series where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
Hello, and welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. I am your host, Tina Lapp. I have been in real estate education for over 30 years, helping individuals enter and thrive in their new careers.
Hey, I'm Andrew Robinson, also with Colibri Real Estate. We are excited to have you here joining us for our podcast this week.
We are here today with Colton Heffley. Colton, will you take a moment to introduce yourself, where you live, and what company you're with?
Yeah, so I'm Colton. I work at RE/MAX Advantage in Nashville, Tennessee.
Wonderful. And Colton, what were you doing before you became a real estate agent?
So before I was in real estate, I was a professional hockey player. So I was playing in one of the minor leagues and bouncing around everywhere. So I started in Indianapolis. I went down to Virginia Beach, and that's kind of what I was doing before I decided to go into real estate.
So interesting. That's a great story. So you're a professional hockey player. What inspired you to pursue a career in real estate?
So when I went to college, I went and got my business degree, and I was always interested in real estate. It was between that or finance, and I really like real estate. My father-in-law was really into real estate, and I just thought it'd be really cool to do. I mean, he was kind of the one that said, hey, you should try to be a realtor and see how that goes. And so I was like, you know what, let's give it a shot, and went from there.
Okay, so he was a big influence. Was there anything happening at the time, a specific moment that influenced your decision? Like, how did you decide to make the move?
I think at the end of my hockey career, you get to that point where that's all I've known for 20 years. And that's, I think every person, when they finish playing sports, you kind of have that realization. It's like, okay, what am I going to do now? So I just was racking my brain, like, what am I going to do for work now? Like, my lifestyle is going to change a lot. And I just really like the whole aspect of, be your own boss, set your own time. If you don't want to work, you don't have to work. You're not going to make money, but that's, you kind of have the freedom to do as you wish. And I really like that. So that was the big reason why. And just talking to people. I like talking to people. You meet so many cool people. And I think that was really, really a big aspect of it too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a common, I think, perspective of people who decide to enter real estate. So for you, you made this decision. What was your process to get your license? Like, where'd you go to school? What was that like?
So I went through Colibri, and I did my Real Estate Express certifications and got all that done. And I just started listening to podcasts and reading books about real estate and just trying to learn as much about sales as possible. And I mean, sales is kind of a interesting thing. You kind of have to learn it, and you can be good at it and charismatic, but you need to learn how to be a salesperson. So I think that was a big thing I was really focusing on too, because that's not something I was used to. So I did that, and then I came here and did my test for the Tennessee license and got it. And then I had actually known the broker. Well, my father-in-law had known the broker. She had sold him their house. So they set us up together. We had our interview, and she wanted to hire me on, and went from there.
That's great. Was the school part of it easy? I mean, you're coming off the road from playing hockey all the time. Were there challenges you faced getting licensed in Tennessee?
It was definitely different. I mean, it's something a lot of it you don't really think about. Like you look at lending and closing costs and all that stuff. And at that point, I hadn't bought a house either, so I didn't know the process really. And then originally I was from Canada, so the process is a little different there too. So that was a learning moment for me. But yeah, it was, I was on the bus all the time. So I would just kind of do tidbits here and there. We'd be on a 12-hour road trip and there's nothing else to do but play cards or read. So I decided to read more than play cards. And I think that kind of helped, is just, spending a lot of time, educating myself.
So, Colton, you're going through this pretty major transition, right? And lifestyle and everything else. What were your expectations as you transitioned over to real estate? What did you think the first year would be like?
I asked a lot of people about it because I had no idea, to be honest. Obviously the first thing you're like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to sell so many houses. And then you start talking to people and they're like, hey, listen, the first year is really hard. So then I started tempering my expectations a bit and like, okay, let's just take day by day and just, try to sell my first house first and see how that goes. So, and then, sold the first one. We're like, okay, now we just got to move to the next one and just keep going down that road. So I really try to just do it day by day and just, ride the roller coaster of real estate, as they say. And I think that really helped me get through those hard times because, as you guys probably know, the first year can be rough. So, getting through that and then getting my client base and then that was just a learning experience itself too.
Yeah. So how long from the time you got licensed to getting to your first closing, your first transaction, how long did that take?
I got my first one under contract in 2 weeks. So we closed about a month in. So, I don't think I was doing anything crazy. It was just luck. It just worked out. So, but, that was great. That was the confidence you need to, to get the momentum going because, a lot of people, it can be 2, 3, 6 months and you start to doubt yourself. So I think that was huge that, I got it right away, went through the process in real life and I was like, okay, let's do this again. That was fun.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations. That is pretty quick for your first year. That's wonderful. So any memorable experiences or maybe even a funny experience from your early days in real estate when you were still learning?
My second deal was a very small land deal in a little town really far away. So I think I drove like 3 hours to go see this land and it was like very far, like out of the way. And I think the price was like $30,000. It was very, very small. And I thought it was just funny. I was like, I'm going to get my paycheck and it's going to be like $500, but I just wanted to learn so badly. So I did it. And it's funny. That's part of the most I learned in a deal was doing this land deal and learning about surveys and dealing with land and, everything comes with building. So it was a really cool experience. And it's funny because I was driving there. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like I'm going 3 hours to see this like half-acre piece of land. And but I learned so much from it. And I think it was a cool experience too.
That's great. You mentioned you had your father-in-law put you in touch with the broker. Was that broker your mentor or did you have a mentor when you got started?
So our brokerage is really good in terms of we have a mentor program. So as soon as we do you get your license, we had a 2-week boot camp where they just threw everything at us, the Tennessee specific regulations and rules. And, we did business planning and sales calls and just practiced all the things you do. So I think coming out of that, I kind of hit the ground running too, because we were so prepared to do the job. Whereas sometimes you come in and you just have no idea what's going on. So that really helped. And then we did have a specific mentor that our first 3 deals, they would help us with all the contracts. If you had any questions, you just call them anytime. So that was huge. And then, yes, my broker was awesome too. If I couldn't get a hold of my mentor, I would call her and, she helped me through a lot of headaches and sticky situations. So it was good.
What were some of the biggest sticky situations or challenges you think you faced in your first year in real estate?
just some of the prepared proposals were crazy. I mean, you get your inspection back and, nothing works. The whole house is falling apart. Your client's freaking out. They're first time home buyers. They don't understand that this can happen. And, I just remember the report was terrible. They loved the house and I was still pretty new. So I didn't understand like, this isn't as bad as I think it is too. So I'm trying to stay calm and keep my cool. I'm calling my mentor like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Everything is wrong. Like, what do we do? She's like, listen, it's okay. Do this, this, this. It'll all work out. So talk to my client, calm them down. We said, okay, let's make a game plan. And it worked out. Still talk to them. They love the house. Everything's perfect. So I think that was like my second or third deal. And it was awesome.
That's great. So it sounds like you really relied heavily on the mentors and your brokerages when you faced challenges in your first year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's almost impossible to do this business by yourself. I mean, you need a support system. You need to be able to talk to others about real estate in general. So I think having my mentor was huge.
So Colton, you're a relatively young guy. You were a hockey player. You're now in real estate. Like you said, you haven't really gone through the process of buying and selling real estate. How'd you establish credibility? How'd you market yourself as you sort of entered the career?
I think first and foremost is just, answering your phone, being available all the time or as much as possible. I know you have to set some boundaries, but, if have a client that has a question at 7 and they're sending me text, I'm going to try to answer them best I can, and I think that's huge as you establish that connection. Like, okay, you're working for me. You're not just sitting around trying to get a paycheck or a commission. And I think that's huge. And then just problem solving and being there for whatever situation they're in. So I think establishing that connection and, the credibility is basically through the problem solving you do for them. So I think that was huge, is just talking to my mentor, finding out the best way to solve these problems and then doing it. And then, you can say whatever you want to them, but if you do something for them that actually helps, that's where you establish your credibility.
Yeah, that's great. And being responsive, it sounds like you were all over that. Were there specific marketing channels or techniques that were especially effective for you?
I think with our brokerage, I really leaned into what our network is, and we have a really good network here. Our broker, Gary, just does a ton of marketing. So I think leaning into our marketing and the experience we get was really what I did. And I think it kind of resonates. Like, our brokerage does a lot of deals here and we have a big brand. So I think just kind of leaning into that was what I did mostly.
Okay. And did you target any specific audiences?
No, I just, whatever I could sell, I'd sell. I wanted to learn the whole scope of everything. I didn't really care about doing a niche at that point. I just wanted to learn. So I would do land, I would do investors, first time, whatever came my way, I was like, I'll take it. I just want to learn. So, and I think that's really important. Your first couple of years is just doing everything so you find out what you enjoy most too.
Yeah, without a doubt. So when you connected with a new client, how'd you build that relationship with them? What are some of the things you did?
I think the first phone call is really important. You have your first phone call. Obviously, you talk about what they're looking for in a house, but I think you need to learn about them too and why they're looking for the house. It's easy to say, okay, what do you want? 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,200 square feet, blah, blah. But yeah. I think you need to know why they're moving, what their situation is. And if you can create that connection and, humanize yourself too, because you haven't met this person. So talk about yourself a little bit too and say, make that rapport. And I think that's the most important thing. And then obviously when you meet them, just keep establishing that rapport and get to know them better. And I think relationships is the most important part. Is if you have a good relationship with your client, everything else is going to go well.
Yeah, I think that's so true. In this industry, so important to continue those relationships because that's where your future business comes from as well. Do you have any specific stories about client interactions that stand out to you?
Yeah, actually, I sold a couple of house last January, and I go see them all the time. They're super happy. They always invite me over. Hey, you got to come over for a drink. So, they're actually pretty good friends of mine now. So it's funny how you meet people and they start off as clients, and then the more you talk with them and get to know them, they become friends. So that was just the funniest thing is I was like, it started off a little rocky. We weren't finding anything, but the more we worked out and got to know each other, I was like, oh, these people are great. They like me, I like them. So now it's more of a friendship than a client situation. So it's just funny how that happens.
Yeah, that's great. I hear that, here and there when we have these conversations that people, they really develop bonds. I think this is it's a huge moment in people's lives when they make a real estate purchase or sale.
Absolutely.
I want to ask, coming from hockey, is there anything that part of your career did to prepare you or differentiate you as a real estate agent, do you think?
I think the biggest thing is just the ups and downs. I mean, same when you're playing sports, you might go on a 10-game losing streak and the world's ending and everyone's mad and frustrated. And, that can happen in real estate where, no one's calling, no one's answering, you're not selling anything. And it's like, what am I doing? But you just kind of have to ride the wave. And I think that was the biggest thing is just riding the wave and taking ups and downs and just trying to stay, neutral. Don't get too excited, don't get too upset, just keep doing your job. And I think that was the biggest thing that I took away from hockey into real estate.
That's good. I mean, so true. Hopefully you don't have too many of the 10-game losing streaks in your real estate career.
Hopefully not.
Speaking of your career, where do you think you'll be in 5 years?
That's a really good question. I'm still trying to put that piece together. I think now that I've had a couple of successful years and started to, gain my client base, I'm starting to think about long term. And originally when I got in, I wanted to be a builder. So, maybe that's something I'm going to pursue. I've been talking to some people and asking questions. So that might be the next step, but, we'll see. I'm open to anything. So.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I think a lot of real estate agents, they move into things like building or investment, and that's how they really grow their wealth. And so I think that's a smart play for you. Do you have any tips or tricks, that you've learned over your time or as a real estate agent that you would share with aspiring real estate agents?
I think the biggest thing is so simple is just pick up the phone and stay in contact with your clients. Don't not talk to them for 6 months. Even if you text them, just say, hey, how are things going with you? Like, let me know if you need anything. They might not answer, people are busy, but the fact that you reach out to them is so important. I think a lot of times you'll meet clients and some people will meet them and they just won't talk to them for 6 months to a year. It's like, well, if you're not reaching out to them, why are they going to reach out to you? So I think that's the biggest thing, and just paying it forward, get people gifts for closing gifts. That's important. I think Thanksgiving, I gave out a bunch of pumpkin pies to a bunch of my clients, and it's a great way to reconnect, and they loved it. So I think that's the most important part, is just fostering the relationship and staying in contact.
So Colton, excuse me. So Colton, we're going to jump into the lightning round, and I'm going to ask you a question. Provide your immediate thoughts, 60 seconds or less. Doesn't have to be real estate related, but some of it likely will be. Tell us about a book or a podcast that you've listened to that you'd recommend to the audience.
I'm a big history nerd, so I listen to Hardcore History from Dan Carlin all the time. So if you like history, he goes really into detail, and he's a really good storyteller, and he makes it interesting. So that's my big one.
Okay, that's great. If we had a time machine and you could go back to the day you started this journey, what advice would you give yourself, or what might you do differently?
I would say just, reiterate, don't get frustrated. It's going to be tough. You're going to have deals and days where it's going to really suck, and just keep plugging through it, and it's going to be fine. So that'd be the biggest thing.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've done that. If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Ooh, I'm going to go hockey route, obviously. I'm going to go Bobby Orr. He was a defenseman in the NHL for a long time, a little before my time, but he was who I wanted to be when I was playing hockey.
Love it. And what do you miss most about hockey?
Just being with all the guys. I mean, you're on this team with 20 other guys and you're with each other all the time, and just it's a different level of friendship, and it's really fun. So I miss that part of it most, more than even playing, is just being around your family at that point, wherever you are. So
Yeah, I bet. What'd you do at work yesterday?
me, I went and
Yeah.
picked up a bunch of listing signs. I was driving around doing that all day. So
Like removing them from the properties.
yes, yeah.
Well, that's a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Colton, if listeners or viewers want to connect with you or follow your journey, where can they do so?
I got my Instagram handle. It's just my name, at Colton Heffley. I'll post
Okay.
pretty often on my story, just on, homes being sold and the odd little tidbit here and there.
Well, thank you, Colton. This has been an interesting conversation. You're definitely the first pro sports person that we have talked to who went into real estate. And so that was an interesting angle to hear about from you. And, I'm excited for all of our listeners to hear about your successful real estate journey. So thank you again.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Colton. And congratulations on being a finalist for the Rookie of the Year.
Thank you.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Thanks for tuning in to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights inspired you to take that next step in your real estate journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, or head over to our channel to see some of the other content we've produced. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway or a question for our next guest. If you have a recommendation for someone we should interview, please send a note to UnlockingRealEstate@ColibriRealEstate.com.